Yeah, so this is some work I've been doing about the Trilinos Spack package or Spack package ecosystem, as you'll see in a minute. Yeah, so that's an artifact of me putting it up here, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why it didn't stretch that, but did stretch. So well, who knows? So yeah, the title is we made 40 Trilinos Spack packages, right? People are being frustrated with the one, so we thought, let's turn it up to 40. Hopefully it makes sense why in a minute. So why invest in Spack real quick, right? If we're not all convinced already. Spack can handle the dependencies between the packages, right? This is what it does. So we're going to use it to build all of the Trilinos TPL dependencies for one, right? So that's something we get from Spack. That's a big deal if you've ever been in charge of building the Trilinos TPL stack. We're already using this internally in a lot of places, right? And as well as just sort of all over the world, I guess Spack is being used, right? So we have internal codes that are using Spack for their processes and want to integrate it better. Right now, there's a lot of projects that are maintaining their own Trilinos Spack packages, which there's nothing we can do about other than try and make ours better, right? And so hopefully it would be they would choose to switch on their own. So Spack is the most common software package manager for HPC, and I have some notion that new or interested users will likely have some familiarity with it, right? So an avenue for new users, hopefully. Okay, so here's my common questions / how to try it out slide, right? So number one, will this break my current Spack package? And the answer is no. Okay, so I don't have plans to replace the current Trilinos Spack package, which is one, Spack install Trilinos, right? And it makes sense in a minute, right? So this will sit alongside that, and hopefully this will prove to be easier in projects will want to switch, right? And then the next is where is it, and can I use it, right? And so right now this repository is in the Trilinos group on GitHub, right? There's the link. I'll switch in a sec. Some of the packages are not working yet. Just note that, right? So it's not you if that happens. And there is a README on there that can get started. So real quick, I'll switch over, right? And so here's where it lives on the Trilinos group, right? Trilinos Spack packages. If you have Spack in your environment, you can just run this little, let's see, where is it? Setup Spack script. Basically what that does is it just adds this as a repo, right? And so then you can just Spack install all your things, right? So hopefully, if you go to this and you're interested in trying it out, there's some simple instructions here to get to kicking the tires on it. So next, back to present. Okay, I like to stress this a lot because I am still, and have been for a long time, in charge of building the TPLs. So it does build the Trilinos TPLs as well, right? So just to plug that again. So the idea here is that we're going to have each Trilinos package be its own Spack package, okay? So that's where the sum 40 comes from, right? And we can do this using this Tribits option that was put in so that we could use Cocos externally, right? So this -d TPL enable package name will tell Tribits, expect this package as a TPL, right? So don't build it yourself, but expect it, right? So hopefully this will minimize rework for Spack, right? We don't want a situation where we're building the same packages over and over and over again, right? That would defeat the purpose of using Spack. We also want to, so in breaking this into sort of packages, individual Spack packages, it was important that we maintain sort of Trilinos identity and branding, right? Hopefully this will let the package options live with the package files, right? And let the Trilinos wide options live in a base class that we have, right? So there's some things that you need to be the same, but there's some options that just need to live with the packages, right? And I think if you've worked in the current Trilinos Spack package, it's very long and it's not clear sometimes what goes with what and how exactly to get what you need out of it. Hopefully this is easy for users to build the Trilinos packages they're interested in. Say, oh, there's this capability in this package, right? And I don't know if that will, hopefully that will be easier for folks to get started with. Also, we need to minimize this duplication of Tribits logic, so you can see how there's logic in Tribits, and then it'll be duplicated to some degree in Spack. Yeah, Jim.
Are you going to show us where the Trilinos white options live? You said it.
Sure.
Class. Where is
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a slide in a bit. Okay. Right. So I think I already said this. I sort of rambled into that slide. So each package is built independently. So here's sort of graphical representation of this, right? So you end up with what is essentially a bunch of tiny Tribits builds of Trilinos, right? Each one containing only one package and pointing to another build that has one package in it, right? This will allow Spack to handle the dependencies, right? And we're only building one copy of each, right? So that's that enable TPL option, sort of tells Spack, or tells Tribits not to build the package, but to expect it. So it allows rebuilds of individual packages, which, depending on your workflow, might be faster, but I guess fast is not really the goal of this, right? The goal is sort of ease of use and hopefully bringing new folks in, right? But it does require some of that duplication. And so how do we keep it in sync? This is the other big problem. This is the other question, right? So I said we, parentheses, I don't want to be responsible for building, just constantly like monitoring and keeping these things in sync. But there still needs to be this, right? So basically what the solution has been is that we have a Python infrastructure, like a Python tool that will read in CMake dependencies through an XML that the Tribits builds will create, and then you map that to Spack logic, right? So this is the first bit in keeping these things up to date, is making it automated, right? Yeah. So the kinds of things we need to capture are the dependency graphs between the packages, right? There's also some calibration here, or some negotiation in between at what level we add variants to Spack, right? Some other questions were like, what kind of information is just easy to grab from the build system, right? Like you could see going through all the CMake files and looking for all the Trilinos enables or package name enables. That's not what we're doing. What I'm doing is basically at the CMake dependencies level, right? So right now we're capturing which packages depend on each other, which packages depend on sub-packages, and any associated TPLs that go with those, okay? In this, we sort of have to assume defaults, right? And so the approach we've taken is to sort of assume that we're going to turn more stuff on, right? And sacrifice build time for hopefully ease of use, right? So if someone thinks there's a capability in it they want, it will hopefully show up by default. How are we doing on time?
You're good.
Good, okay. All right, so here I have some details about how this is mapped, right? So you can see, like in English, if we have a required package, that shows up in our XML like, whoops, oh, I can't highlight here, right? Lib required that packages, whatever. In Spack, this is, just go right to the CMake and like put it as a CMake option, right? We don't need to expose that as a variant. It's just required. For an optional package, right, we declare a variant. We tell that whatever package we're in that this is, we depend on that. And then make an optional, a CMake argument dependent on that variant. TPLs, similar to the case here. If this is a required one, you just say we depend on that. Yeah, Sam.
I want to point out the layer I was talking about in my talk yesterday, about where we have now the ability to for that third layer of information, optional, required, and optional, but I want it on by default for ease of use.
Yeah.
Or off by default because of limited dependencies.
Sure. Yeah. Optional TPL, you can see you do variant. It's sort of similar here. Variant depends on, and then an optional CMake option to tell tribits about it, right? That's the other way. All right, so about the Trilinos branding and association, right? All packages in Spack have been prefixed with Trilinos, right? To sort of maintain that idea. So this is what the actual like directories look like, right? So you'll see there's, right, Trilinos underscore whatever, package name. This actually, when you're using Spack, translates to Spack install Trilinos dash package name, right? And there's a lot of information that's inherited from the base class, including the description, some of these global options, things like this. And all of the other packages, except for the base class, are generated with this Python tool, right, using that XML dependency information. So package variants live with their packages. That's this one here, right? So you can really, this is a sort of a snippet of a Spack info, right? And you can see that there's a bunch of options here. This is from the base class, and this is from whichever package we were looking at, right? So, likewise, oh yeah, here's the ones I want to show, right? So, things that we would do from the base package, like, you know, CUDA arch, where they have CUDA on or off, ETI settings, things like this, right? That we want every package built to have the same settings. And okay, here's the graph of doom, and this is from Kurt's tool. I just have these two slides in here to show that basically this is now this, right? It's the same. I mean, you still have this same dependencies, right? And to demonstrate that Spack does in fact like capture these, right? So that is my prepared, and I'm anticipating people will have questions about this, so I'm gonna wrap it up there. Yeah. Was that your whole comment?
No.
Oh.
No, so you're accurate in saying that it's not going to speed up like the global build or whatever, but
Yeah.
I think it's worth being a little bit more explicit about pointing out that cases like CI testing and things like that, if we could actually not
Yes.
rebuild entire package libraries, pull things from build caches
Yep.
in some cases. The reason that Trilinos is the punchline of every Spack tutorial joke for the first 3 years of the Spack tutorial is because of the inability to basically do
Yeah.
anything anywhere in Trilinos changes.
Yep.
And this, for most commits, you know, depending on what you're touching, will fix that.
Yeah, I agree. And
So that's a big deal.
yeah,
And even where it's significantly faster than Ccache too, because it caches the links.
Yeah.
It caches everything. It caches the full set of built artifacts. With Ccache, you still end up having to relink every
yeah. And I think maybe why I said that is that I get the objection of like, but it's faster to build it locally for me now. Like, why would I
Right.
do this? And the answer is
You were correct that in that case, it's not going to
Right.
be, you know, faster build from scratch, no caches, no, like.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. The hope is that you could Spack install the thing you want and then move on with your life and not have to have to deal with whatever. So, yeah.
Tom, I apologize, I missed the beginning of the talk. So is this already in, or is there a timeline of when it?
Yeah, so it's partially so it's mostly working, right? There is a repo in the Trilinos group right here. That's just Trilinos-Spack packages. And so you can go there and clone this, right? And it's just as simple. You can do a Spack repo add, right? There's a little script. This little script just does that. If you need an example of it, but yeah, Yep.
So I'm just assuming that SPAC list there, those are the ones that you've gotten to. thus
This
far.
here? Yeah. Yeah, and so this is all that is coming from the automation, right? There is some, because everything's automated now, it's finding a lot of stuff in there. So there's some work to do about, which, I like the idea that we turn everything on by default, okay? Like including TPLs and stuff, but there's like a lot of TPLs in there that are not in the normal, like, so MPI Advanced was one I found, and I was like, what is this? I've never heard of this. So, right? So it's like,
Here's another example actually that Jeff asked about, like,
Yeah.
I think we don't turn on.
yeah.
but that's-
Yeah, so there's some, I'm gonna have to figure out exactly what we do there, but I think the packages that are not currently working, I think it's a lot of that kind of thing, right? Where they have options I was not anticipating or dependencies that are more than I thought, yeah.
So maybe you said this, so if Mulu changes, sort of its dependencies, adds dependencies,
Uh-huh.
then you need to rerun tribits for Mulu sort of on back, or
Ye-
tribits?
Yes, yeah, so right now it's pulling from, there's an option you can give to Tribits that basically puts out an XML dependencies.
But it puts out the complete XML dependency.
Yeah.
Repass it of the entire project. So
Right.
It's not, you don't have to select what to build for that process.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
But these are, I guess what you're saying is these are static right now, so that if the dependencies change,
Yeah.
somebody, you have to.
Yes, yeah, so it is,
I love the GitLab runner.
there's scripts for it, but it is not automated in that way. So I would have to, run the script and
So
upload it, right?
Are these tied to like a release or a specific SHA? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, right. TBD. I mean, yes, we want to do that, right? Right now they are not, right? Right now we're just sort of on develop.
So
Right.
like if Malachi goes and grabs these, can you
Yeah.
suss out what SHA they were created for?
Yes. Yeah, there is like a Trilinos, yeah. But right now it's sort of,
Just be like the topic development.
it's sort of just rolling right now. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This leads to the important.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this is like a natural conclusion for everybody. Spack packages are not version dependent. They build all versions of whatever that
Right.
package is, right? You declare versions in the Spack package. So, and I pointed this out to Joe for like, that's going to become a problem as soon as somebody wants to use this in production.
Yep.
Is what happens if you change the Mulu dependencies to the old version of Mulu?
Then it breaks.
There is no old version of
Then it
Mulu right
breaks.
now. So this actually,
Yeah.
there's a significant additional complexity in that Joe and I briefly spoke about. It almost has to be automated because what you really need to do
Yeah.
to generate this correctly or to regenerate the package.pys correctly is keep a list of the versions that you want to support and then roll back through those in the Git history,
Mhm.
generate the dependencies
Yeah.
for each one and generate the section. You can see immediately why the current Trilinos package.py is so obnoxious to maintain, right? This is just as obnoxious or maybe even more
Yeah.
so, but because you're doing it and generating
Yeah, right.
you're distributing that out
Right.
amongst all the individual packages. So in theory, it's more for individual readability and parsability. When you do a stack info on one package, you can kind of isolate your concerns to that package. Right now, if you want to go touch something about Mulu and the Trilinos package.py, it's just so much context, right? Like it's
Yeah.
It's very like the syntax is normal stack packages, but there's just so much of it that you have to grok through.
Yeah. I think Jim's next.
So, the natural follow-on to that, I get a number of people asking me, and I want it on the recording, and if anyone here doesn't know it, the plan is not to support like arbitrary version combinations of Trilinos packages, like, this version, and then I can use this version of Trilinos from a year ago in this package, and I can use this arbitrary version
Right.
of Cocos over here. And so some people are disappointed when they hear that, but that's just a CI testing nightmare.
Yeah.
They need a meeting.
I've had people say that, well, then you should just leave it all one monolith package, but I think, the CI advantages, breaking things down, there's
Yeah.
an advantage there, but it is gonna be pinned versions.
Right, yeah.
But that's a policy. It doesn't have to be architecturally. So
Right. I mean, there could be flexibility in certain cases, but.
Right, and so I think just because Nathan's and Rob point out, like,
But-
Cocos might be a long-term thing that we want to explore, right? There are 2 versions of Cocos available for one release of Trilinos. I don't know. There might be a reason to do that. Actually, we have that.
Good luck with that.
Well, in all seriousness, we kind of have that case right now, right? I think Rob in case somebody wants to switch back to Cocos 4.7. I don't think that we should advocate that people do that, but it is I think it's a reasonable thing to want to be able to support from an architecture perspective.
Okay,
Yeah.
last question.
So from a moving forward perspective, is your plan basically on release of Trilinos, we rerun and then have a Spack package tied to that specific release of Trilinos sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably
Right, and if you're
one
developed, then, good luck.
I mean, I think that's a good way to start. I think eventually what Sam's talking about maybe is what we want to try and take a stab at, right?
An individual package file for release. They would all end up in the same package. It would just get updated in the main repository.
Yeah, right, but you
Yeah.
have your repository, this is the version you use for Trilinos 17.
But yeah, and
You could.
If you wanted to.
yeah, because Spack has that stuff in. It would just be another thing to collect and then
Yeah.
parse out.
Right,
And
you just have to make sure you know
yeah,
which version of the
oh,
repository to get.
if you're on 17,
Yeah.
add this dependency or whatever. But yeah, so.
Alrighty.
Yeah, right.
Don't turn it off.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Yeah.